Welcome to Sleepless in St. Canard, where nostalgia replaces REM cycles. I'm Kitty.
And I'm Ange.
And we haven't slept
in 30 years.
This is a podcast about the 90s Disney cartoon Darkwing Duck, where we head to the bourgeois of academia in the Halloween halls of Eldridge Academy of Enchantment in Hot Spells. Ooh, the band episode. We finally made it, Ange.
I was listening back to our previous episode where you mentioned the band episode, and my brain went to band as in like a musical band for some reason. And I was like, there was no musical instruments, but there technically is one musical instrument. Whenever the Library of Forbidden Spells. Yeah, whenever it's mentioned.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Is it?
Well, I mean, so populate a band for me. Who's in the band?
The Hot Spells band?
The Hot Spells band. Tell me who in St. Canard you're gonna put in this band.
Okay.
The band AU.
I'm going to put in Morgana because she would be very good at stuff, probably. I'm trying to think of like the worst possible characters that you could like put together in a band. Megavolt, I don't know if he'd cooperate.
Electric guitar.
Ooh, okay. I guess that
yeah.
Technically there was an electric guitar in that one episode we watched.
With a big brother.
That one, and also the talking electric guitar in, the episode where Megavolt brings the electronics to life accidentally.
Revolution in Home Appliances.
Yes. Look at you remembering episode titles.
Ta-da. Look, it only took us 100+ episodes.
Beelzebub
was playing. I mean, you could always play the golden fiddle.
I was thinking the fiddle and or just, I don't know, the tears and rib cage of his tortured subjects.
Put him as drummer. So Beelzebub's a drummer. We got Megavolt on electric guitar. What's Herb playing? Oh, he should just do like the fart where the quackerware farting in time to the music.
Opening and closing the lid.
And backup dancer, because we know that he's a good dancer.
That's true. Okay. That's all I can think of. What are you going to add?
We got Quackerjack on a toy piano.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got... What is Morgana doing? Is she the lead singer?
Yes.
Okay. Also pyrotechnics, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Liquidator on the slide whistle.
If he blows into the whistle, wouldn't water just come out of it and it would make like a sad bubbly noise?
Or I don't know if you've ever seen one. They're like little bird whistle things where it's like it's shaped like a bird and you pour water in it, and when you blow into it, it like sounds like a bird chirping.
Okay.
It's just like a whole setup of those. Or he could just do like the water glass thing, play the rims with the water glasses. I like this. So we've got, this is quite a band. Lilliput is on the getting squished.
He's in the mosh pit getting murdered.
And I don't know. I feel like all the other roles could be filled by Camille Chameleon, and she'll just play all the other instruments. Just switch between them all.
Possibly turn into them if needed.
Oh, yeah. I like it. I'm looking forward for their first single to drop. But yeah, so now that we've plotted out the band, B-A-N-D, episode, we can talk about the band as in no longer in existence as far as Disney is concerned episode. Funnily enough, as we are sitting here talking about an episode called Hot Spells, we are both sitting in a heat wave, so...
Yay!
An apt time to be talking about this. Yay, global warming. And as is my catchphrase, I don't remember the last time I watched this episode. But I do remember most of it, so that was good. And which seems to be the case when it has Morgana in it. I typically remember those pretty well. So do you want to do any updates or anything?
Yeah, just wanted to mention the Kickstarter that has finished. But there was a Darkwing Duck graphic novel collection Kickstarter from Dynamite Comics. And it was pretty big. They did quite a bit of advertising, actually. They did a whole bunch of interviews with Tad Stones. I think I saw one with Amanda Dibert. And we were looking at the numbers, right? So ultimately, 2,366 backers, $343,856 dollary dues were made.
Yeah. They were asking for 25K, so I think they hit that.
They sure did. And because they hit certain goals, there's some extra little treats that anybody who backed it got. So I won't go through everything that the Kickstarter was offering because it's kind of huge. But in short,
Can you just tell me what is this though? Is it just the Dynamite comics that they did, or is it a collection of old stuff?
both.
Okay.
So they did all of Darkwing Duck, like what we've covered, like the Dynamite Darkwing Duck series, issues 1 to 10, I want to say. And then the Negaduck series and the Justice Ducks series. But
Okay.
it's a little complicated because they didn't just make it one compilation, they separated it into a whole bunch of different categories. So, for example, what I pledged was the Darkwing Duck Heroes and Villains hardcover. And it says it's an exclusive omnibus sized hardcover graphic novel collecting Negaduck and Justice Duck comics that began in 2023. The collection also includes a cover gallery of the previously published cover art and a special foreword from writer Roger Langridge. I was a little confused though because I know Negaduck has at least 8 issues, and Justice Ducks, as far as I'm aware, I thought it was 5 issues. So I don't know if they mixed that up or not. But they also had, for example, they have the original. Do you remember like the original Marvel? I don't know if it was Marvel, but like Darkwing Duck. It was like a 4-part comic series that covered Darkly Dawns the Duck.
Okay, yeah.
Very old. I actually do.
Back from like the 90s.
Yes, and I actually own it. Like I have the original ones from back in the day. And so they were offering like a limited edition gold foil cover of that, a purple foil cover. They had the trade paperback for the Darkly Dawns. For some reason, it's not available in Italy or France. So sorry to you guys over there. Let's see here. Yeah, it says it's the 4-issue 1991 series from Walt Disney Productions and Disney Comics / Marvel's Disney Afternoon. It's pretty cool. And then there's a trade paperback called Cowl and Fowl, which is the Darkwing Duck 10 issues that we've discussed, all the way up to the Lorax.
Yes.
They also had all the issues. So Dynamite issue number 1, all the covers, like I guess to collect all the covers for issue 1, because you know how there was like a lot of them.
Yeah.
It says it's a 7-cover pack, and it says it's just an easy way for comic book collectors to obtain all the variants of Darkwing Duck number 1 in one bundle. They also had art lithographs, which I'm not really sure what those are. Maybe, do you know what those are? It's like a cover, but I guess is it metal?
I think it's I don't think it's not metal. I think it's just a really high quality print, like a glossy print.
Yeah,
lithographs.
They were offering that with one of Trish Forstner's covers with Morgana and Darkwing and Launchpad. They had a hardcover for the 4-issue 1991 series, The Darkly Dawns. And then they have like signed versions of all this stuff as well. And then you could also get some commissioned cover art from one of the artists.
Like a few different people. Yeah. Like there's higher tiers where there's just like purely commissioned stuff.
Yeah, and then they had like a Darkwing Duck limited edition metal cover for issue 1 of the Dynamite series. So there was like a lot. There was a lot to pick from. The only thing that was absent from my understanding was the Boom Studios / Joe Books were not present. It covers some of the 90s material, but not the 2009 2016 stuff. That makes sense.
It's owned by another studio, so
Yeah, I don't really know how like the copyright and the rights to things work, but they just didn't include any of that. So those are not there. It's mostly focusing on like the older 90s stuff plus the newest stuff from Dynamite. Tad Stones was involved in the Kickstarter. It says that they had his guidance and he was helping with the stretch goals. So there was two stretch goals that were released that were pretty cool. At 150K, all the backers receive a limited edition ash can of the upcoming Darkwing Duck series, which do you know what an ash can is? Because I wasn't. It seems to be like
no.
It seems to be like a special comic cover.
Okay.
It's a cover by Tad Stones, and it's really cool looking.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like Darkwing swinging on a rope with Goslin hanging off of him. It's a really cool piece of art. So I should be receiving that because I pledged.
Nice.
So I will let you guys know when I receive that, and then I can actually tell you what it is.
Oddly enough, it's a can for your ashes.
Wouldn't that be something from the age of smoking?
Just got Goslin and Drake slapped on it.
I'd use it. I'd use it for jewelry or something.
Incense burner, you know.
And then there was a second stretch goal, which was a 300K stretch goal. And it's a facsimile Darkwing Duck animation cell. So I don't think it's a real animation cell, but I think it's printed to look like one. Like it's printed on like a clear paper and it's Darkwing swooping down, which is pretty interesting. So I will be receiving that as well. I think there was another stretch goal for 450K, but they did not reach it. And they did pretty well. Like I was looking at Dynamite's like general, like their history with, they've done a whole bunch of Kickstarters, some of their other comics. They did one for Gargoyles. I didn't pledge anything on that one, I don't think, but like they got a lot of backers for that one, and they have all kinds of stuff that has been backed. So congrats to Darkwing for having actually like over 2,000 people that were willing to pay money for his existence.
You know what? If he was real, his head would be the size of the moon right now. This is all the validation he would need. For about 5 minutes, and then he'd need more.
Yes, especially because he'd be like, "Why is Gizmo Duck on this cover? Why am I not just on all the covers alone? Why are they even there?" Like he would just
Only $346,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, congratulations, Dynamite, on a successful Kickstarter. Those are always wonderful.
Yeah.
And we will be discussing the Negaduck comic shortly, in the next episode or so. But before then, we have this one to talk about. Anything else update-wise before we dive into the academics?
The only other thing I'll mention offhand is that they announced, what do you call them? Those little squishy little not squishy little toys.
Tsum Tsums?
The other ones that everybody hates that are popular and everywhere.
Funko Pops?
Yes, Funko Pops. They announced a Quackerjack and a Liquidator Funko Pop, but it was like an NFT version, and you have to buy the NFTs for the chance to get a real version. So it's like the worst blind bag lottery on the planet.
We're living in the most cursed timeline.
Really, I don't understand why they don't just, I guess, make them and just sell them like normal, but I guess they're counting on people to really buy the digital version in the chance of getting one. And I will say that I feel like both Liquidator and Quackerjack would probably approve of those methods because they're truly villainous.
They are. There's landfills filled with little dead-eyed Sheldon Cooper Funko Pops somewhere, and now they're throwing NFTs in. But there were also, like, I think they're blind bag things. There's like little desserts.
Yes.
And there's a God one and a Darkwing Duck one, like Darkwing's a parfait or something. They're really cute.
He's a parfait, and Goslin's like little orange, like an orange drink with like orange slices.
Yeah. They're cute. I don't know how I feel about consuming. I was not actually going to eat a stuffed toy, but they are very cute. But the implication, so here's a smoothie made of Goslin. Which, not completely out of the realm of Darkwing Duck with the pudding and other types of things that they
She
have,
has
but
been a slime that Launchpad consumed at one point in time, so
so on brand.
yeah, so quite a few little Darkwing Duck things popping up here and there. They're usually included with like a greater Disney Afternoon line, but it is interesting to see him actually getting that kind of attention, like even getting that kind of a design at all. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
bravo.
That's nice. Hooray. Okay. So, here we go. If you would like to watch this episode of Darkwing Duck Hot Spells on Disney Plus, it is season none, episode doesn't exist. So you're out of luck on that platform. It does exist out on the internet, but I'm not going to say any of the places here because we don't want the mouse to catch on.
I have heard that it is available in certain countries on Disney Plus. I cannot confirm
Really?
this, but I've heard, I think Disney Brazil. There's folks in like,
Interesting.
yeah, like in the Darkwing Duck Facebook group, like on, I think it's Darkwing Duck Forever or whatever. I'm pretty sure I've seen people from other countries mention that they have it. I have seen a DVD quality version of the episode that I don't know if it came from Amazon Germany or what. Like the original audio was German because
Mm,
similar to like some of the other episodes that I've had where it like has a German title.
right.
So like obviously at some point it has been converted to DVD quality, but I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I think it's official, like you can see it in some places, but definitely not the US and definitely not Canada for sure.
And I believe we've touched on this episode before, but if you're listening to this and you haven't seen it, basically the premise will clue you into why it was so controversial, and I guess still is. The episode essentially sees Goslin selling her soul ish to the devil to learn magic, and because this is a cartoon, the bargain doesn't stick. I do get why some parents would be upset about this, but I also can't help but think about how old this trope is and how it's in so much media. I feel like the devil pops up in tons of media, like kids' movies and TV shows and all kinds of stuff. Halfway down a rabbit hole earlier and had to dig myself back out, barely even scratching the surface, about something called the Hays Code, which was in Hollywood like early on, which basically held an axe over a ton of media and just lopped off anything that didn't have quote unquote traditional values in it, which eventually was, you know, done away with. Why things weren't so cookie cutter after a while. But at least growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, I feel like there are plenty of like cautionary tales about making shady deals for forbidden power or knowledge. Even the Care Bears had to sort through that. So it kind of seems like a little weird that this is the one thing that Disney's just like, no. This has kind of been a theme for, the ages. Like from Faust to Care Bears to whatever iteration you want to, like, Futurama has that episode of making a deal with the devil. There's all, like, so it's interesting. Not sure why this iteration caused it to effectively be erased from existence, but it certainly has been buried as far as Disney is concerned in our countries. So it's on the internet. I found it. I watched it. If I can find it, you could find it, but I digress. Today we're watching Hot Spells.
Yay! And it's one of my favorite episodes, so.
It's a fun one. This one opens with a bat and blazoned gate opening, and Morgana is bringing Darkwing and Goslin to the Eldritch Academy of Enchantment. She's invited to present her thesis and has brought them with her so that she can give Darkwing the opportunity to be a good boyfriend. And let's see how fast and horribly he fails at that. Let's start the stopwatch. As she intros the school to the normals, Moleculo and Aunt Nasty fly in on broomsticks, both wearing helmets for safety. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Landing in such a way to kick up a pile of leaves so that they all land on Darkwing. Now, Moleculo, have we covered him on the podcast yet? I don't think we've watched Monsters R Us.
No, we haven't. Other than the comics. That's all we've talked about.
Right. Straddling the thunderquack. I really like Moleculo. I like him visually. I think he's an interesting character. I like his voice. I just like him. I like that he just doesn't like Darkwing because especially in the episodes with Morgana, Darkwing is just kind of a dick. So I like that he gets zapped by your dad. I like Moleculo. How do you feel about Moleculo?
I think he's great. And also, I feel like they subtly implied that Darkwing and him are similar in some ways. Like, their outfits
Oh
are
yeah.
color coded. I mean,
Ah,
he's got like the matching cape, and I think the implication is, you know how like people tend to date people who are
hate
kind of similar to
parents.
their parents, and that's why they butt heads so much. So I don't know if that was intentional by the creators, but that was something I
He also
noticed.
wears a hat all the time.
Yes, but
Okay,
his design
I
is
can pick it up.
interesting. Like, what is he? Like, he a zombie? Is he just a ghoul? Like, I don't know, but it works. I think it looks really cool.
Yeah,
The one glowing eye, and
he's got like a like pruned up kind of a beak situation going on. He's tall and lanky. He's very paddywhack coated, basically. He's got like that round little body with long lanky limbs.
yeah,
Does he have claws? I think he has
sort of.
claws.
Yes, I think he has got
At
long
least
fingernails.
long fingernails, which is disturbing when you say it out loud. But he's interesting. I like him. I enjoy Moleculo, and I do like him a lot in this episode because they basically land, and then immediately he's like, "Where's my genius daughter?" He's like so proud of her, and it's very sweet. And he and Nasty are both so happy for her to be honored at Eldridge Academy. So I was under the impression that she graduated, but in watching this again, it seems like she's still in school there and she's like presenting her thesis.
Yeah, it's not really clear because I could swear it. I don't know if she refers to it as her alma mater or if that's Moleculo.
I think he
Yeah.
said something about the Macabres having attended there a long time, but it seems like it's too important to her that it goes well, that it's like she's being graded on it. And I don't know. She doesn't like say, "Oh, I graduated from here." Like she doesn't say anything like that, but I don't know. Yeah, so she's been invited, whether she's doing this for a grade or whatever. She's presenting her paper, Warts and Boils, Medieval Hexes Redefined for a New Age. And as Moleculo says, her thesis title out loud, Darkwing has to surrender his good boyfriend token immediately. As he says, nothing like a fuzzy wart to impress an intellectual. I think that disqualifies him from the good boyfriend race immediately, and it is not the most heinous thing he says in this episode, but here we go. Moleculo finally notices he's there, and he's like, "I'll still dating this jerk, huh?" He's like, "Couldn't you dig up somebody better?" And Darkwing's like, "Hey, she stopped digging when she found me." And then Moleculo just says, "Oh, maybe she needs a new shovel." And then he zaps him. And it's great. Morgana breaks in and tells them to behave. And they somewhat agree, although they do so by taking jabs at each other, with Darkwing saying that he knows what it's like to be a proud father. And Moleculo is like, isn't that your child climbing the outside of the building? And she is. She's like all the way up at the top, and Darkwing yells at her, and she's just excited by all the gross stuff she's seeing on the inside of the building. And some blob creature looks at her through the window, and she falls. Acting fast with parental instinct, Aunt Nasty, a whole bunch of people who know this child, but she's the one that acts fast. She puts a cauldron below Goslin and she falls into it and splashes into the water inside instead of splashing across a landscape. And because she's a macabre, she tastes the Goslin water and comments that wouldn't be a bad brew with some oregano. Darkwing rushes over to scold Goslin and snatches her out of the cauldron as Aunt Nasty tries to light the fire underneath it. And then she's like, "Oh, I was just kidding." And she like dances away in like a happy Madam Mim from like The Sword and the Stone. She gives me that kind of energy, Aunt Nasty.
Aunt Nasty is the one who came up with those like Goslin and Darkwing smoothies. Clearly,
Yes, she did. She's like, "Oh, they're adorable and delicious." But yeah, she's just a kind of a jolly weirdo. and I like her. And she's like, "Oh, stop by my class later." It's like, oh, so Aunt Nancy didn't just come to see Morgana's doing. She also works here. The blob thing splats on the walkway. I suppose having jumped from the window, Goslin was snooping around. And Morgana's like, "Oh, hi, Cousin Globby. How's it going?" And then he apologizes to Goslin for scaring her, and she's like, "I wasn't scared." Oh, but oh no, Morgana is late for her meeting with the dean. She realizes this is because she checks her wristwatch, which she's never wearing again. But it is a beautiful wristwatch of the Grim Reaper, just kind of like pointing
Perfect.
as the hands are ticking around. It's like, I would wear that. So then Globby is basically one of the gang after this. He just kind of hangs out with them. So the gang and Globby make their way to the dean's office. And we don't see too much of the inside of the Eldritch Academy, which I think is kind of a shame. It is oddly kind of like industrial looking. There's like just regular lights hanging from the ceiling, but all of the door frames are shaped like coffins. And I love that. They get to Dean Spectre McHex's office, and it's empty. And in his ever sassy way, Darkwing is more interested in the layer of dust on anything. And he's like, "Oh, well, maybe he went to go find the janitor." And he blows the dust, and then the dust turns into the dean. And the dean tells him off and has a little Yoda moment with him. He's like, "Let's see if you look this good after a millennia or two."
So to me,
And then,
this confirms that these monster type people have longer lifespans than normals, which
oh, this
means,
guy specifically, yeah.
yeah, so I wonder if Morgana does too.
All signs lead to probably. So then the dean compliments Morgana and lets her know how the academy is impressed with her paper and her business endeavors, which makes me think that she was just kind of like on a work study doing evil pizzas. And like, "Oh, we read your papers on the evil pizza business. We're very, very impressed with you." So as he compliments her, both Moleculo and Darkwing are like, "Oh, that's my ghoul," and then they grumble at each other because, you know, Darkwing has ownership of a woman. The dean tells them to check out the advanced classes while they wait, and that Globby will show them around. And then I had to type this in caps because it felt the only way to do this. Meanwhile, in hell, or bourgeois, I suppose.
Bourgeois.
Beelzebub is very bored, and he's just kind of flicking through the channels of his Hell TV to see what meddling he can do to entertain himself. And he stumbles on the school, and more importantly, that Darkwing is there. And he's like, "Oh, what I wouldn't do to get that do-gooding dweeb on my resume." And then he's even more excited when he sees that Goslin is there. And he picks up a phone, a hell phone, I suppose, and calls his team, his hell team, I suppose, to get him to wardrobe. Hell wardrobe, I suppose. So basically, what we learned in this little bit here is that in Darkwing Duck universe, Beelzebub's throne room is kind of like the Batcave. He's got a command station with a giant TV monitor so that he can surveil everything all at once. And he also has a bat phone.
Apparently, Darkwing Duck is a priority for him too.
Yeah. He's really bent out of shape after Dead Duck. Back at the school.
What's this? The janitor's closet?
It's the Library of Forbidden Spells.
Huh?
So what's the Library of Forbidden Spells?
Is it gonna do that every time we say Library of Forbidden Spells?
It cannot be helped. Those are the spells and incantations that extract too great a price to be used.
Too great a price to be used. What? Waiting for the softcover edition?
It's serious, Dark. The soul is far too precious a commodity to risk in the quest for easy power.
It's kind of like the horse Winnie and Young Frankenstein. Frau Ruka! Where she is. Darkwing calls out the music, basically. And Morgana and Molecular are kind of like, "No, man, it's that serious. The music don't lie. That's the selling your soul section of the school." And they leave the scary door. I feel like if it was just behind a boring door, they wouldn't have any trouble. It's just, you made the door too interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So they leave the scary door alone and head to Aunt Nasty's science class. And I have to tell you, I did not peg her as a scientist, but I guess that's on me for being ignorant. But yeah, they had to ask science class. And Goslin is offended that science is taught here at all because, hello, magic school. Morgana gives a little presentation to the class about how magic only looks easy, but magic users have to do math in their heads. And all of the students in the class are just drooling puddles on their desk listening to her talk.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a
can't blame 'em.
mood. That's a mood.
Goslin says that she wants to ditch regular school and come to school here, and Moleculo is kind of like, yeah, you should sit in on the class. He's like, you got a great knack for the unnatural. And Darkwing is like, I know, but I don't know if that should be encouraged. And Goslin just snarls at him wordlessly. She just growls. And he's like, oh yeah, okay, fine. She can do it. Ooh, feral child. Morgana is happy too, because now he can help her with her presentation, because Goslin will be occupied. And Nasty kicks off class as she tries to teach her students how to create some weird-looking eggplanty thing with legs. It's like a little eggplant with a duck bill and eyes. I don't know. It's weird. It's familiar, apparently. But Goslin, she ain't got no time for rules. She ain't got no time for directions. She doesn't follow anything and does zero math. It causes an explosion that ends up just producing a pile of chocolate pudding, which chocolate pudding, I guess, was very important in the 90s.
I think that's still pretty impressive. I mean, considering that she started out with like random stuff that wasn't chocolate pudding, I think she's got some knack, even if they don't see it.
It must have been whatever the same thing that Morgana accidentally did in that one episode, because she turned Darkwing into pudding, too. Maybe it's just manifesting what Goslin really wants, her heart's desire, and it's chocolate pudding, and I can't fault her for that.
Me either.
But the class, on the other hand, laughs her out of the room, and she bumps into a skeleton and knocks its head off, and then she chases after the head and is tripped by a hellishly familiar-looking janitor. The skeleton turns out to be named Yorick, because of course it is. And the custodian, who introduces himself as Beelzy, leads her to the giant doors of the Library of Forbidden Spells, and she questions if they're supposed to be in there, and he assures her that it's fine, that he moved all of the forbidden spells somewhere else, to the basement. Yeah, that's the ticket. She complains to him that she was excited about magic, and now that she can't do it because of how complicated it is. And he's like, oh yeah, well, come with me. And he gives her a book called Magic Made Easy, which takes all that complicated stuff out. And he's funny. He's got really good banter, this guy, whoever he is. And he's like flipping through the pages, and he's like, what did a goat ever do to them anyway? It's just funny. He has some good little one-offs. And he shows her that all she has to do magic with this book is wiggle her fingers and say presto, and magic will happen. Goslin, to her credit, is very reluctant to do it. She does question being in this library. She does question whether she should do this magic. So she is. And you know, spoilers, she never actually says that she'll exchange anything for this information. But anyway, so she does give it a shot, and it works. She has her own little eggplant familiar guy, and he Beelzy, the custodian, tells her to keep the book, but not to tell anyone she has it because she doesn't have a library card and she could get in trouble. So Darkwing is helping Morgana set up for her presentation in the school's theater, and she asks him for his advice on what she should do, and he's so dismissive. He's such a jerk. He's like, oh, well, look, you wrote a paper. If they want to know, they'll just read about it. She zaps him. Like, yeah, good. And then she apologizes for being tense. She's like, there's a lot writing on this, and that she'll be judged on a lot of different things, like her composure and all that kind of stuff. And he's just such a jerk. He's like, will there be a swimsuit competition too?
He wishes there was.
Yeah, right? Goslin, in a weird little wizard's getup, comes into the theater and starts playing around with the spell book and creates another creature thing that also is sort of eggplant shaped, but it's like got, it's got arms and legs, it's got big kissy lips, and it's obsessed with Darkwing, and it's like, oh man, and chases him around trying
It's
to
the
kiss him.
Galarian Taranga. I don't know why.
Obviously.
I don't know why I remember it so well, but it's called the Galarian Taranga.
Taranga. All I know is that it's to bring back Futurama. That's Leela's name, Taranga Leela. So, I don't know.
Darkwing did it first.
Are they related? Are they related? Who knows? So yeah, that thing chases Darkwing around. Morgana is just more impressed with Goslin. She's impressed, but she's surprised that Goslin could make that without doing any calculations. And Goslin's like, I'm in on the secret now. I know you don't need to do math and all that stuff, you bunch of chumps. And Morgana's like, no, you absolutely do need to use them. Goslin, did you get into the forbidden books? She clocks her basically immediately, and it's fantastic. Goslin is like, no, all the forbidden stuff is in the basement. And while they're having this completely rational conversation, Darkwing and this kissy monster thing are just destroying the entire setup that Morgana has put up. And then Moleculo comes in to check, and Darkwing's just like, oh, wow, look at him. Isn't he handsome? And then the kissy thing chases him away. And the Dean comes in. The Dean made some kind of little innuendo comment about that. I don't know. I don't know what he said. But I was just like, wow, the Dean's a little sassy. Goslin's like, I didn't take any forbidden books because all that stuff was moved to the basement. Morgana's like, who told you that the books were moved? And she's like, oh no, my presentation's destroyed, because she just realized how wrecked it is. The Dean comes in and critiques Morgana's setup. It's all smashed. And she's like, well, it's not my fault. Goslin created the, what is it?
Galarian Taranga.
Yeah. And that came through like a hurricane, and the Dean was like, whoa, that was yours? Morgana, you're out. Random child, you give us a presentation now.
Damn.
I'm like, Morgana. I know. For as much glowing praise as he was giving her before, and Morgana looks so sad. It's kind of really upsetting. Goslin runs off because now she's like, oh shit, I gotta prepare a presentation for some magic user. And Darkwing's like, oh, there's my little genius. And he starts inflating his chest. And Morgana's like, bitch, please. What the fuck are you talking about? That's Goslin. She couldn't do this. You think Goslin's good at math? She doesn't say that, though. She's very kind.
Yeah, that's my little genius.
Oh, Dark, you don't really think that Goslin could do the magical calculations?
Hey, she may not be book smart, but she's got great imagination. Just ask her teacher, who ought to be released any day now.
She said something about the forbidden books being moved. I hope she hasn't gotten into any trouble.
Goslin goes back to the Library of Forbidden Spells, finds BLZ. He's yelling at the brooms from Fantasia as they're carrying mops around. He scares them off. And she asks him basically what she should do for this big presentation, and he flips through the page and he marks off a spell. Meanwhile, Morgana apparently flubbed her presentation. It just seemed like they did it in a classroom now, and she's like, oh, that went terrible. She kind of notices Goslin using the evil book, and before she can say anything to her, she gets grabbed and pulled off screen. But there's a concerning, wipe cut of blood dripping down the screen. That makes it seem like she just got murdered. But she's not. She was not murdered, probably. Goslin, meanwhile, is on the main stage now. The theater's packed with people. Darkwing takes his little spot next to Moleculo and are watching her from the audience as she fumbles along. But ultimately, she casts a spell that Beelzebub marks for her, and it causes the quote-unquote gates of fire, aka the gates of bourgeois, aka the gates of hell, to burst out of the stage. And Beelzebub, I guess, just wanted to do this so that he could start a fight with everyone, because they basically have a really quick battle. Molecule's like, oh, you're gonna have to deal with all the students and all the faculty now, you idiot. And then his little devil guys with their pitchforks come out and just zap everybody, and it's just like, I guess you lost.
Flatten them in 5 seconds.
Like a breath, half a breath. So there we go. And then we get our I am the terror that flaps in the night of this episode. He says, I am the water balloon that lands right on your head. Darkwing fights the devil and his cronies and actually kicks some ass. As fast as they took care of the magic users, he sorts them out too. until Beelzebub shows him that he has Morgana tied up in hell,
Womp womp.
and then he'll let her go if Darkwing takes her place. And to his credit, he does agree basically immediately. Gosalyn tries to use her magic to send Bubba after him, but Beelzebub is like, who do you think gave you your magic? And he cuts her off. The gate then vanishes. Moleculo is like, this is why you don't take deals for magic. And Gosalyn's like, do I look stupid? I thought he was a janitor. But this is good news, apparently, because it's a loophole, baby. She did not sign any contract or willingly agree to anything. Beelzebub was just like, here you go, kid, here's a book. And she's like, neat, thanks. Not illegally binding anything. So then they're able to get Darkwing out, I guess.
By doing math to summon hell.
Yeah, damn right. So they go, Morgana and everybody go off to do some hard work, magic, mathin' to get him back. As Beelzebub in hell leads Darkwing to his own personal hell. He just like opens a rock face in a pillar, and it's just Herb and Binky on a couch, but they're like red and they have little devil horns. And it's his personal hell is watching Pelican's Island with Herb and Binky Muddlefoot forever. It's just like nothing else. It's just Herb and Binky. And Darkwing screams! And I think we go to commercial after that. All the Macabres and the Dean have put their brains together to get the gates of hell back. And Morgana and Gosalyn, they all get together to do the math. They do all the magic. There's a little bit of a montage. And then they get the gates of hell to burst back out of the floor. And they go in. It's real quick. It's a real quick extraction. So they go in disguise as reporters.
Mm-hmm.
So they come in and they're like, hey, we're doing a story on you, Beelzebub, baby. You finally got Darkwing. Why don't you go grab him for a picture? So all the little guys run off and grab Darkwing. And Gosalyn takes a picture, and then they kind of knock everybody out and grab Darkwing. And they start to run away before the gates close. And Beelzebub's like, oh, I'm not gonna let you away. And then the kissy face monster comes back and chases them off. And then they get out. They're just poof, poof, in and out of hell like that. Back outside. They're completely outside the school again, and Gosalyn apologizes to Morgana for ruining her special day, and apologizes to Darkwing for getting him sent to hell. And Darkwing then uses the ultimate punishment in his arsenal and says that he's taking away her comic books.
Gee, Morgana, I'm sorry for messing up your special day. Sorry, Dad. I didn't mean to endanger your soul like that.
Mm-hmm. This punishment is going to have to be pretty good. I used up my best stuff when she blew up the bathroom. But this is going to call for something major.
Not my comic books! Come on, Dad. It's not like I played hooky or something. It was just your soul. This is cruel and unusual punishment.
Perfect.
And that's the end of the episode, yeah.
So Gosalyn, Morgana have been to hell once, and Darkwing has been to hell at least twice now.
And he's also at least made it to the pearly gates.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he got inside, so yeah. Darkwing racking up those frequent dire miles. But yeah, so I mean, all things considered, I don't think it's any worse than any other representations of devil deals.
Truly, the real reason it was banned is because they revealed that doing math can summon the gates of hell. So if you try to solve the angles of a triangle, you never know. You might bring the devil. And they were like, we can't let it out. They can't know the truth about math. That's the real reason.
If you figure out long division in your head, that's when
you're going to hell.
To a janitor. You're going straight to the bourgeoisie, baby. Oh my god, you cracked it, Ange. You cracked it. Okay, so how would you rate this episode?
This is a solid 5 out of 5 for me.
Yeah, I agree. It has a lot of fun stuff that happens. It has some funny psych acts and stuff, and like Morgana, when she's setting up her presentation, she's got a whole bunch of frogs because it's about warts and boils. A whole bunch of frogs, and she's just got one picture. It's a human foot, but it's just like covered in boils. And she's just like, "Do I need more pictures for my presentation?" It's like it's cute. And I feel like the animation is pretty good in this episode. It's not the most glamorous Morgana, but she's consistently cute through the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always nice. As we've stated already, we like Moleculo. I do like how supportive and excited for her he is throughout this episode, and I do like that he warms up to Goslin in this episode too, where he's like, "Yeah, you should take a class." Like, regardless of what he thinks of Darkwing, it seems like he enjoys Goslin's company, and I like that for them. I think the weakest character in this story is Blobby. Who is just Jim Cummings doing a disgusting slobbery voice. And there is Herb and Binky in this episode, so yeah, 5 out of 5s across the board. And Beelzebub is fun too. Like, he's very much like a used car salesman devil. I enjoy that for him.
Yeah.
Even though he is a really weird looking character.
He is. I think this is probably among my favorite episodes for Morgana, because it gives us so much lore and a little bit of characterization for her as well that we don't really see in other episodes. So obviously we learn about this school and this background. We learn that her family has gone to the school and their faculty there as well. But also I think what was interesting was her relationship to Darkwing and Goslin, and how she handles that dynamic was super interesting, because Launchpad isn't in this episode, which I forgot about that. Like, he's just not there. And it's like, I thought he was, but he's not. The way in which Morgana reacts to everything is very interesting, because this is obviously super important to her. But I remember at one point, I think it's after she does her presentation and it flops and she's being very sad about it. But Darkwing is also like excited because Goslin's presentation is coming up next. And he's like, I really have to like go see that. And she's so sweet and understanding. She's like, I know, she's your daughter. And he gives her a kiss on the cheek. And it just shows Morgana isn't threatened.
Right.
The father-daughter bond, like she's not jealous. She isn't petty about it. But she's also very level-headed and practical. She obviously likes Goslin and thinks well of her, but she's also not egotistical enough to ignore the fact that no, Goslin definitely did not figure this magic out on her own, and she did not do the math. Like, you got Darkwing over there in complete denial, but Morgana's like, this is Goslin we're talking about. And it's not even that.
Yeah.
It's like, it's
something
not,
is wrong and this child is in danger.
Yeah, and it's not even like she thinks Goslin's dumb per se. It's just she knows Goslin's personality and how well she handles school, and she's just kind of like, no, like something's up here and she could be in trouble. And I think that was all really interesting, the way they played that out. Morgana isn't petty, despite the fact that her whole presentation was ruined because of it, and they never really resolved that. It's just kind of concluded that they were unimpressed with her presentation. Like, it was basically ruined. Like, if she was getting a master's degree thesis, she did not get it, from the sounds of it. Yeah. And she didn't really hold that against Goslin. She was very quick to come up with a plan with Goz to go down into hell and rescue Darkwing with no issues, and there wasn't any hard feelings. And I just love all of that, because I think that's really good for her character. It says a lot about the kind of character she is. Yeah,
maybe she gets a redo because the Gates of Hell
they ruined everything.
Sorry, this was a hell day. Can I do a do-over? Yeah, sure. She's like, I'm not going to bring anybody next time. I'm just going to do it myself. Because I figure he has already read her paper. He was impressed with it, because he said so in the beginning. And I don't know. Yeah, but no, she did. She handled everything in stride. And even, you know, talking to Goslin, she'd be a good mom.
Yeah.
Basically. Long story short, Morgana be a good mom, because she's very supportive, but also can also smell the bullshit. Too bad she can't smell it coming off the boyfriend in waves, but whatever. She's darkmatized. Here we go. Hot spells. We did it. We covered it. We talked it. We dressed ourselves up as reporters and saved each other from hell. And we're on the other side.
We made it. We've survived.
Not that bad, Disney Plus. You should put it on your platform.
Do it. Do it.
Especially since you got, like, Hulu and all other kinds of stuff on there now. Give the kids what they want. Math.
The dangers of math.
Dangers of math. The kids just can't get enough of it. They're sneaking in little workbooks under their desks at school. Passing them in the hallways. I don't know. I don't know what kids do at school anymore.
I don't know, but I thought it was a pretty good moral, too. Like, the overall moral was don't take the easy way out. So you would think that in and of itself would be acceptable, but I guess not.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, release it on Halloween.
Release
Be
it.
cowards. Michael Mouse. All right, well, here we go. That was our episode on hot spells. Thank you for joining us. And next time, we will be covering Negaduck.
Negaduck number 3, I think.
Hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So until then, remember that math doesn't sleep, and neither do we.
We're going to hell, boys. Strap in.
Buckle up, Buttercup. Hell through a library, baby.